A lot of people want to level up their food crafting, but they struggle with finding out how to do it properly. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it efficiently while still making a very good profit. And the best part is we're going to be doing it with items that sell extremely fast. Now there are currently 9 different categories for food production, and most of them can actually be maxed out within just a few days. Now we are going to start with the sandwiches, stews, omelets, pies, salads, and soups. Now when people think of crafting food, they often assume that higher tier foods are by far the best choice. But this couldn't be further away from the truth, because it all comes down to basic supply and demand. Now when a lot of players produce high tier food, the price tends to drop significantly. For example, tier 8 sandwiches, which are considered a high tier food by many, are very well crafted by a lot of people. But how many sell per day? Well, it's around 2,000 in numbers. And this might sound like a lot until you compare it, for example, to tier 6 sandwiches, which sell for around 3,000 units per day. So it seems a little backwards, I know, but let's try to understand why exactly does this happen. And the explanation is actually quite simple. It's due to shops. Now every single crafting station in the game requires food to keep running, which means there's an entire hidden demand for specific foods that are not the usual high tier foods that most people mass produce. With that in mind, you need to do a little bit of a homework to figure out what exactly should you be crafting. Any city works, but for the sake of this video, we're gonna do it on Martlock. Now Martlock gives a big array of crafting bonuses, ranging all the way from axes, quarterstaffs, frost staffs, plate shoes, and offhands. Now 3 of these bonuses belong to the blacksmith category, which means that the blacksmith stations are heavily used in the city. And that's exactly where we're going to be starting off. So first, I want you to walk to any blacksmith station and click on it. And when the window opens, there is this small character avatar on the top left corner. And if you click it, it will open the shop settings. Now there are many settings here that you won't need to use, as they're mostly for the shop owners themselves. But there is only one thing here that matters the most, which is the food supply section that's located in the bottom part. Now this section shows you the favorite food of the station, which in this case is the mutant stew. Now that we know the food, we have to go to the marketplace to see whether crafting is profitable or not. So to do this, we'll search for mutant stew, open the item details so we can see the required materials to craft. Now for this stew, it takes you 12 potatoes, 12 bread, and 24 raw mutton. Now I recommend writing these numbers down so you don't forget them. Now what we have to do is check prices of every single of these components. Now the potatoes are costing around 410 silver each, and you're gonna need around 240. Bread is gonna cost you around 350 each, and you will also need 240. And raw mutton costs you around 420 silver each, and you're gonna need 480. Now this is so we can make 10 batches of 10 each. Now, breaking down the math, for every single batch of 10, you're gonna use the ratio of 12 to 12 to 24. So potatoes are gonna cost you 4.9 thousand silver, bread is gonna cost you 4.2 thousand silver, and the raw mutton is gonna cost you around 10,000 silver. 19,100 silver. But this is without any return rate. Now the usual return rate is around 15%, which means you'll effectively only pay 85% of the total value. So that means that we have to multiply this 19,100 silver by 85%. This means that each batch is going to cost us around 16,200 silver. Now since each batch gives you 10 stews, the cost per stew is going to be roughly 1,600 silver. Now they're selling for around 2,000, so that's roughly 400 silver profit per unit. Now sometimes there are also crafting bonuses that apply to food, which increase the return rate significantly. Now one of them is on the days that this video was recorded in, and it was a 10% bonus, and this means that the total return rate is going to buffer up to 21.8%, increasing the profit from around 400 silver per unit to 500, which is really good. Now, 500 silver per unit might not seem like it's too much, but when you check the marketplace and you see that over 5,000 stews sell every single day, it becomes clear on how powerful this method is. Now, the beauty of it is that competition is very low because most players still believe that they must craft high-tier foods to make any profit. Alongside the profit, you will gain a lot of spec extremely fast because the sale volumes and the craft volume is just so high. Now, to give you a comparison, I decided to test tier 6 sandwiches versus tier 8 sandwiches, and the results were quite surprising, I must say. So for the tier 8 sandwiches, it costed me around 581,000 silver for a batch of 100 sandwiches, which I sold for around 505,000 silver, so that means we lost around 76,000 silver for a batch of tier 8. Now, for the tier 6, I did again a batch of 100, and it costed me 156,000, and these sold for 225,000, giving me nearly 40% profit margin when crafting these tier 6 sandwiches. Now, this is just one of the examples of why you shouldn't judge something before you try it. This is how I actually leveled up most of my food lines, and it goes extremely fast. However, it's not all sunshines and rainbows because you'll run into a few problems. First, food is very heavy, so be prepared with a good ox, a good bag, and a good pie so you can buffer up the carrying capacity of your crafting. Now, a mammoth is the ideal crafting tool, but it's very expensive, so you don't have to worry if you don't have one. I did this without one for so many months and I still managed to get the job done. Now, if you want to see the complete list of shops and what each of them eats and requires, I'll leave a link in the comment section to the Albion's official wiki page that explain everything that you need to know about shops' foods. Now, with this crafting strategy, you'll run into two more issues, which actually are going to help you. The first one is the lack of certain raw materials, especially meats and refined ingredients such as butter. And this is where we actually are going to be leveling it up. So for example, let's say we were making mutant stews, and we're going to need raw mutant for this. Now, for every single mutant that we're buying on the marketplace, we're paying around 410 silver. And you might think that this is expensive. So what you can do is look up the animal that produces the raw mutant, which in this case is the sheep. Now, sheep are currently selling in the marketplace for 7,400 silver. Now, if you butcher one sheep, you'll receive around 21 pieces of raw mutant. This means that each piece is going to cost you around 352 silver instead of 410. So now you have two options. You can either use them for your crafting session, meaning that it's going to be way cheaper, or you can just simply sell them for a quick, easy profit. And you'll be very easily surprised on how much money you can make by butchering animals, because a lot of the people actually avoid this process because it's really tedious. And again, before crafting, make sure to always check whether buying the animal or the raw material is best, because a lot of the times you'll be surprised with the answer. Now, butchering also gives you a lot of spec quickly because you process many animals at once. Just remember that any finished product is going to be heavier than the animals and the materials themselves. So make sure that you don't overload your ox to the maximum, or you'll be walking back to the station or to the marketplace at mule speed. Now, for refined ingredients like butter, you are going to need a mill. But the issue is that mills are only tier 3 buildings, and that means that they have very little low crafting capacity. And what exactly is the meaning of this? Well, it basically means that you can only refine around 3.5 stacks of materials before they run out of energy. They take around several hours to regenerate, and unless you want to rent a mill from someone, the best solution, and which is what people have used for around 7 to 10 years, is just place a mill on your island. Now, before going any further, it's very important to say that you should never ever craft items on your island, and this is the only exception to the rule. Now, city crafting bonuses are too important for you to craft. So, if you want to, make sure to set up just mills in your island. And to do this, you're going to need just a few ingredients: rough wood, rough stone, and blocks tier 3. To do this, again, you'll need an island and you'll need premium to do it. You only need it once, and if you really want to get it, I have active premium giveaways over in my Discord. So if you haven't joined, make sure to do so. So once you go to your island and build the mills, which you can do so by pressing H, you can refine around 3.5 stacks before this mill runs out of capacity. Now in this case, I was refining tier 8 milk into tier 8 butter with a profit of around 150 silver per unit. Now once the mill reaches its capacity limit, which happens very quickly, you just have to do a very simple process. You open the avatar on the menu and you demolish the building. Now before doing so, make sure that the mill has 0 tax before crafting. Otherwise, you're going to be paying taxes and you have to cash it out before demolishing. Now, when you destroy that mill, you're going to receive around 90% of the resources that the mill took to build. And now you can just simply rebuild it and repeat the cycle as many times as you need. Now the final category you need to max out is going to be the roast category. And this one is very special because in the 4 years since roasts have been here and added to the game, I have never seen a single day where they were profitable. And almost nobody uses them, which makes them very bad because there's a lot of supply and very little demand. There's also the issue that they are not required by any crafting station, and because of this, it's extremely hard for you to find profit on them. Now if you really want to level up this category to get it fully maxed, you should only do it on bonus days and you should actually spend learning points to reduce the amount of silver you lose crafting them. Now overall, food crafting is an extremely rewarding category and by far one of the easiest and most profitable ones to level up. Now leveling it can be considered difficult, but if you follow these steps, I'll guarantee you that you'll have it maxed out in no time. Now, just to finalize and putting the cherry on top of the cake, what you can do instead of listing a lot of these items on sale is actually feed the stations in the different royal cities. Now, a lot of owners will not feed their own stations. So what they will be doing is they're going to give silver as a reward, and once you feed the stations, you are going to be getting part of this silver that they're paying you. Now, I have a complete overlook on how you can do this, and you'll see it on this video right here, so if you want to check it out, make sure to do so. But it's very simple and intuitive. And a lot of the times, it's an easier way to, one, profit off the owners, and the second, to get rid of high quantities of food very quickly. Anyways, that is it for the video. If you guys have any questions regarding crafting or this food crafting scheme, make sure to ask me down below in the comment section or just join my Discord crafting community where the link is down below. Anyways, that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching this video, and as usual, Nendys out.